Do not adjust your television sets, dudes. This is actually the height difference between my actual son, this guy, and myself.
Just think, the guy that headlines the Jack Reacher movies is this height, if not
Tom Cruise.
shorter. He's basically...
He's your height?
Yeah. I heard they basically put him on an Apple box anytime they have him around human-sized people.
He does his own stunts, though. I still think he's doing it, too.
Yeah, they're cool.
There's something to be said for that. TD, ladies and gentlemen, still here visiting in TMP. He'll come and go. He does do that.
There's steel. Man, I don't really care so much about the...
He does. Don't listen.
It's cool. I do like it, but it is...
He's fondling all the weapons. He loves the modern stuff. The AR pistols you were so into.
I love those. But what can
Shooting them, he's like going gaga over them. He does love milsurp stuff. So do I. But I'm broad spectrum.
It's got more character. I can't say much about... Whoa, cool. Another rail. Another 6-point adjustable stock. Like... As cool as they all are, they're within percentages of coolness. It's like a 9.4 and a 9.3 and a 9.2. So when a guy goes, "Hey, dude, did you see this new manufacturer? It came out with a 9.4."
And TacticalDoodle will say, it's another AR-15. We've kind of seen it before. Whereas this Ishapore 2A1 has a ton of personality.
This is goofy.
It has its own history. It's such an interesting and cool milsurp rifle. Welcome to our bunker review of the Ishapore. It is the Indian version of the Lee Enfield SMLE Mark III Star. So, and it's chambered, get this, in 308. Specifically 7.6251.
And you actually told me about this.
Right.
Because I don't pay attention to Lee Enfields. In fact, in my collection, I've made sure not to get any of them.
Because he hates the 303 cartridge.
I hate 303, and I do not want it in my collection. I don't know if it wronged me in some way. I just have stayed away from all the Enfields. I'm tied up in 8 and 30-06 right now.
Well, and that's an interesting philosophy of use thing right there, because if guys are actually shooting their milsurp rifles, which I hope you guys are, and you should. Just don't collect them. Put some rounds through them. You don't live that long on this earth. Make it happen, Captain. But do you really want to add another caliber to your mix? Like if you get an SMLE, do you want to stock up on 303?
Well, and
you have a K98 or a 2447, and then you have an Arasaka and all those rounds. I mean, if you're retired and you're reloading, I say rock on. I mean, for us as reviewers, we can't help but go through that process. It is aggravating, all the ammo, and getting basically an Enfield. By the way, a new manufactured, I say new, but it wasn't converted to 308. This was manufactured from the outset at the Ishapore factory in India. This one is a 1968 build. From the ground up as a 7.6251.
Which is awesome.
Magazine fed, y'all.
It's not a slapped together rebarrel.
Freaking awesome. So I always admired the Lee Enfield. I thought it was awesome. I never wanted to add one to my own collection because of the chambering, just like you.
The chambering, awesome. And I know the second I get one, then I'm going to start researching it. Then once I know more about it, I'll want every permutation, every variation.
There are
and they made the damn thing for like 90 years.
So many variants, and we're really not going to go into the Lee Enfield history. We're basically going to concentrate on this modern Ishapore 2A1. And the 2 Alpha just has a minor difference. We may or may not cover it here in the bunker. Philosophy of use though on this thing is first collectability. Obviously, it's super cool, but it gets better, team. And the way it gets better is that these are really not that expensive. If you're going to go out and buy...
Awesome.
Where's the K98, bro? Back down.
Yeah, I think you have them all on your side.
Here it is, right here. If you're going to go out and buy a clean K98, how much are you going to spend?
These days, $500 to $800.
I'm talking clean, though. Really nice with, authentic everything on it.
12 to 24.
There you go. Okay, so, and these are great. I mean, this is a cast member for now in TMP. This is a really nice K98. We've shown it a lot. But you're not going to spend that on an Ishapore. Ishapore might run, what about, I hate saying the value because it's going to change. Maybe from this video, the the demand will go up because we're going to see a lot of good stuff about the rifle.
Right now, if you're looking at one, if you're willing to get one that's kind of greasy and dinged up and messy, $330 is about the going rate.
That's cheap. I paid $322 for this one,
That's
and
a
I got it
smoking
off
deal.
a used gun rack, and it's like new, and it's Parkerized, y'all. It is Parkerized. How cool is that? Not worn. When I saw this, I mean, wasn't I texting you with excitement? I was like, dude, look at this Ishapore I found. Amazing. It doesn't look like it has that many rounds through it. The wood is in good condition. It's not dinged up. It's, to me, it reminds me of a product improved SMLE in a round that I really want, 7.6251. Yeah, I swung that one. 10 rounds is awesome. It's excellent. So collectability, and the question is, you know, are people going to start treating their Ishapores more carefully? Hard to say, because I've read some stuff online where guys are chopping them up, they're changing the sights on them. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. For us, we're not going to change this.
I think they will.
Well, it depends on what kind of change. If it's something that's reversible, doesn't permanently alter the gun, I could kind of see it.
Oh, I'm just talking the market, because it's the same, you know, once upon a time we thought Mosins were fair game. Yeah, cut up your Mosin, you could turn it into a little pistol, that's fine.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, the value starts climbing. There's only a finite supply of these.
Correct.
And at some point, people are going to get over that, well, it's made in India, it's not a true Enfield, it wasn't made in Britain. And suddenly it's going to become the most desirable, because functionally it's awesome.
It is awesome. And I got to tell you, though, I mean, I've been in the gun world searching racks for, 40 years? You know how many times I've seen an Ishapore on the racks? 5 times, maybe. I will say this, before I was doing TMP, I'm just going to be honest with you, I really wasn't into them. I was like, yeah, that's cool, you know, old-timey rifle. But now that when we got into the Garands, we got into the 1903s, and I started shooting them, I mean, it's a disease.
Yeah.
Once you start shooting them, you go, God, these are so cool. And like TD was saying, it's the era of walnut, steel, craftsmanship, and it gets in your blood. And they're not that expensive, and you just get, I don't know, excited about it.
And you know it's going to increase in value, too. So you can't even do the normal hobby thing, well, I don't want to spend money on it. Instead, you go, well, if I buy it now, it's probably only going to appreciate.
What would you say to a dude that got this for just fondling?
I would totally get it.
I would too.
Just for
I would say rock on.
to
That
sit
you
there
never
and-
shoot it, you just
Yeah.
sit around and you handle it while you're watching TV or something,
Yeah.
or watching TMP.
Yeah.
I'd say
You're just sitting
awesome.
there
I get it.
absent-mindedly loading it with stripper clips full of snap caps, working the bolt,
Fun.
making sound effects.
Fun. How about as a go-to-war rifle?
It's possible, actually.
I would say maybe perhaps the best vintage bolt action we've brought to the table yet. It has 10 rounds. It's 7.6251. You're going to see it's very accurate. It's smooth to shoot. Yes, it has some quirks. We're going to discuss that when we get to features. The sights have some limitations, but all these bolt actions do. I think it's pretty excellent, actually.
For like half the price of a Ruger Gunsight Scout.
All right, finish.
It's one of the coolest things around.
It is cool.
I love milsurps and the idea that they made their own in the 60s, updated with modern calibers, is amazing. So cool.
Very, very cool.
All right, I only got a couple left.
Yep. I find holding this elbow really high, like counterweighting, like way high, helps. And then hold forward. Hit. Keep the bolt open, we'll let her cool.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not light. This sucker weighs, what, 9 pounds,
Yeah.
2 ounces, which isn't totally outlandish. I mean, that's about the same as a 1903. Hope I got that weight right. I think I did.
Yeah.
I've heard that like Ishapores weigh like around 10 pounds. I don't think it's that heavy. But yeah, it's a go-to-war rifle in a restricted state, restricted area. If you're, I don't know, if I hate to say a location because I don't know all your guys' laws, because it does have a detachable 10-round magazine. Maybe your location, oh, you can't do that. Their protectionists weigh in with all that ridiculousness. But it would work. It's good. It coming to my mind, though, is kind of like the 1903 versus this.
Yeah.
And we may revisit, as we rack order all the bolt action guns and vintage guns, which we did in a recent video. And SMLE was in the running for sure. But yeah, 10-round magazine, and you can replace the magazine. You can charge it from the top with stripper clips. Pretty cool. Recreational? Totally. It's way fun to shoot. I will say this, jumping ahead to how did it shoot, it does have some recoil. It kicks like a mule.
I was surprised, too, because it's got so much weight, and it's a fairly long barrel.
Yeah, it's funny how this thing, it'll punch you.
There's something about the handling that feels muskety.
That's what she
It's got
said.
that.
And about the rifle, you are correct.
She said it feels like a musket when she's talking about whatever. No, but there's something about it. Like maybe
does.
It's the shape of the
does.
stock and just the front end. Like when you look at it, it looks like it should be sticking out of the side of one of the
It does.
cullises of a pirate ship.
Well, I've always thought the SMLE, and by reference, the Ishapore, looks, I don't know, kind of Revolutionary War-ish.
Yeah, it's very
just in how
odd.
it looks, like the full wood stock coming up here, and it's always been that way. They're cool looking, but they definitely have a different appearance.
They retained a lot of their 1800s DNA a bit longer than
Agree.
most of their brethren did.
Yeah, agree. So we're going to start on features since you're looking at it right here. There's your muzzle cap right there, and you can see your button to attach the bayonet.
And you got a little pocket there where you can store maybe chicle or something.
Chicle. And then you have a very limited front sight option here. And again, there's a lot of variances in the SMLE design between the Mark I, whatever the Mark III, and then the Ishapore. This variation has a dovetailed front sight that is somewhat adjustable for windage. It is protected by some very heavy-duty protective ears, and so we haven't really adjusted ours yet, but you can get something in there to adjust it, probably a wedge. You could electrically tape your sight wings so you don't damage them, and then you can kind of scoot your sight left or right.
Those wings are kind of nasty, too.
They're kind of
just
weaponish,
hard.
aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, those are some thick wings.
That's like something to smack somebody with.
Yeah, it's like weaponized for sure. There's your bayonet lug on the Ishapore. I love that it takes a bayonet.
Yeah.
I think it's a British pattern 1907 that it takes. We don't have one of those, do we?
You can find them on the market for 80, 90 bucks around there if you want the
Like
matching
legit
one.
ones? Real ones?
Yeah, from the looks of it. They're old and they probably smell like cat piss, but it's better than nothing.
Cat piss. You crack me up. All right, then we go back here. There's your sling band right here. And walnut stock on this version. Standard, really 1900s era service rifle. So we have a very slender forend. We have your sling swivel here. Clean, comfortable. I did notice when we were shooting it a lot and fast that I got that wood smoking.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point I was wondering if I was going to catch it on fire. I wonder if there's some Ishapores been caught on fire. That's the downside to an enclosed barrel design like this.
Yeah.
And you could say that about some other bolt action rifles reviewed. I think the 03 kind of has that going on too. So here's a 03. That's a Mark 1, or is that the Eddystone?
Yeah, this is Mark 1.
Mark 1. So it's
Totally
the same
has the
thing,
same
enclosed wood.
I think it just depends on how
Period.
much grease the ensign packed it full of back in the day.
The ensign. That's hilarious. All right, so here's your sight, and an Ishapore 2 Alpha is graduated to 2,000 meters. I think the most of the ones you guys would ever find or own are probably like this one, a 2 Alpha 1. More realistically graduated to 800 meters. And we have a missing piece off our sight right here. So it came that way, and I need to find another one. It's the opposite of this knurled knob right here. So if you guys want to drop that into our P.O. box, you get some free TMP gear. Giddy up. So if you have that, send it to us. It's this part right here, and we'll send you something cool in return. Thanks, much appreciate it.
Look at the knob on the other side of that, though, and just appreciate the stupid cost of machining that thing.
That was a criticism against
That is
SMLE, that it was a
crazy.
high machine machining requirement for the gun. They made, pattern adjustments and design adjustments over the years to make it more simplified for manufacturer.
But that's
one of them is they went to a one-piece charging guide. So this one, which is stronger, and it bridges over the rear part of the receiver, and before it was a two-piece.
That's a fine
Not in the
addition.
Ishapore, I'm talking in the Lee Enfield.
That knob is just ludicrous for something that came out in that era. That's something I would expect to see like a World War I service rifle.
Hold on, though.
They were still
Remember, you're
using
looking at an Ishapore built in 1968.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
You think they would have gotten rid of that in like 1920, but
Well,
they kept it on.
It brings up a pretty interesting point, is if you're going to go to, the work and the expense of producing this in the modern era. I loved how they chambered it for 7.6251. And by the way, when they did that, they hardened this receiver to take the increased pressures of that round over the 303. The 308, they say, is 10% more powerful. But why didn't they go with a rear-mounted aperture sight?
I don't know.
Do something back here to increase your sight radius, because it has, like a lot of these bolt-action rifles, not the 1903, a short sight radius.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
Which by this time, they definitely knew how much it sucked.
But did they? I think people just got used to what they had. I mean, they weren't they weren't looking progressively like we do now in our modern way of thinking. We're always saying, how can we improve it? And there's money to be made by civilian manufacturers always looking, we need to prove it. Here, they have a design that works. It's been battle proven year after year. The troops love this gun. They love the SMLE. And I think when people love stuff, they just don't want to improve it. A good example of that is a Ruger 22 pistol with its ridiculous takedown, like the Mark II over the Mark IV. And then now it's so easy to take down like that. But that's modern era thinking.
Well, they fixed it on the predecessor to this gun.
Well,
They figured it
that
out
was
on
an
the
interim
P13.
gun. So there's an Eddystone he's showing you. Go ahead and hold it up to the camera
Well,
right there.
if we're pretending
Right.
this is a British P13, P14, they figured out, hey, let's
Hold that
put the
close to the
sights
camera so they
all
can
the way
see
back
that.
there.
This is an Eddystone, and that is a really interesting example of what we're talking about. So that's a rear-mounted aperture sight. That gun was so short-lived, though. Really cool gun. I might review that separately. Might. So hardened receiver over the 303 version. You have just the amazing smoothness of the Enfield action carrying over to the Ishapore. You have a guide rail right here, a rear locking lug. Super smooth. Except for this, and I noticed this upon shooting the Ishapore. You did too. You remarked in the desert. You actually have to, you cock on closing. You gotta kind of slam it and push hard to close that bolt. And it is something. It's not like a K98, which is super smooth. It cocks on opening. The Ishapore and the SMLE cock on closing. It's something. Is it bad? No. Because this thing holds some world records, or at least it used to, in rapidity of fire, right?
Yeah, and that was a very British design philosophy. They didn't like the cock-on opening idea because they thought if a case were to expand, you're spending too much effort to pop it open.
And some guys will attribute that cock on closing to its speed and firing. So you have a 10-round magazine, you have a smooth bolt, It's a short 60-degree throw versus a K98, which is a 90-degree throw.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the 7.6251 is shorter in overall length than a 303, so you're not bringing it back as far. This is actually, when you train with it and get good with it, a really fast-firing bolt-action rifle. Some guys are thinking of it as kind of a manually operated semi-auto.
It's high right, so I'm aiming low left. I love this gun.
I think that might be a stretch, but it's pretty quick. Here's your safety right here, and it works fine. It's kind of a sweep affair, so fire is forward and then safe is back, and then when you have it on, it'll lock your bolt. It's not like the Mauser that has a safe unload position. It's pretty simple. Then you have a cocking piece right here. This tells you the gun is cocked. If you have an Enfield, and again, we're not Enfield experts. We just shot this Ishapore, and we may miss some details, but we're just telling you what we've done. So if you have it cocked and you don't want to dry fire it, what I'll do is I'll make sure the safety's off, and there's a couple ways you can do it. You can actually raise your bolt, put this forward, have the safety back. Raise your bolt, pull the trigger, and then just close. So then you decock it that way. Another way you can do it is you can actually hold that forend for me for just a sec. You can hold your cocking piece like that and just lower it. And so either way you can decock it that way. Kind of fun. Here's your magazine release. It's inside the trigger guard.
It's a great place for mag release.
I didn't mind it, did you?
Yeah, it's always weird when you put stuff in trigger guards.
The magazine over an SMLE is more box shaped. It's not, I don't know, angular. And the magazines we looked up are about $80 if you can find them.
And they're pretty much secondhand market only.
Pretty high quality. It reminds me of an M14 M1A mag. It really does. 308 chambered. They go straight in. They don't rock in. And I didn't have any magazine problems. It fits in snugly, no wiggly. I like that. The trigger is stout. There's a ton of take-up in the Ishapore trigger, and it pulls at about 8.5 to 9 pounds.
Got some of that traditional piratey, muskety flavor there.
Field stripping the Ishapore 2A1 TacticalDoodle. What do you want to say about it?
I would field strip it for you, but I don't want to. Pull up on the bolt, trigger, pull it back. You're going to see this little piece come back. That's going to be the only thing holding it in.
Make that and put this vertical.
I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. You'll notice what's sticking in the way and what's keeping it from coming out. But once you pull that little piece up, you'll hear a click, bolt comes out. Then you can...
We should probably do it for him, but you just said it. Good enough. We do notice in this particular example of a 2A1, when we put it back together, it's really stiff.
Yeah.
Going back into battery. In fact, while shooting it, we noticed that as well. We're going to check a few things, trust me. But it did shoot great. We'll get to that here in just a second. And I think that's pretty much it. Oh, yeah. Downturned bolt handle, unlike a 2447.
Yeah.
And like the better World War I, World War II era rifles. And everything's steel and walnut, once again.
Awesome.
Totally awesome. Walnut stock is a great example. On this wrist guard, or I think it's called the socket, you can see RFI is what?
Royal Factory Ishapore.
Yeah, I think so.
Here?
We do have a stock repair right here. Some of the Ishapores had stock repairs, I think either right here or back here from grease damage being stored vertically in arsenals. And then we have a sling swivel back here that looks awfully like an M14 sling swivel to me. And then we have a 1 Alpha SLP butt pad, which is an Indian foul, I think. So that's what they put on there. And then we've got like an oiler compartment here too. So that's a steel butt pad. That's the features of the Ishapore. Ishapore. Really a cool rifle.
It's really weird. It's like DNA from a musket.
Ishapore.
There's some pirate DNA in
I
there.
love this gun.
A little bit of World War II bolt gun. A little bit of World War
Just
I bolt
messing
gun.
around.
And like maybe 5% of the DNA from a Martini Henry or something weird.
It's an interesting mix.
It's an odd
and I really like it.
concoction.
Oh, and it
even-
has a really short length of pull too, which we're going to
I
talk
love
about
that.
now. He loves it. I wish
Love
it was
it.
a longer length of pull, but you're right. It's an eclectic mix of stuff. But again, the machining and the quality on this Ishapore, if it's an indication, is pretty amazing. I mean, the steel trigger guard, look how thick it is, and look at the machining marks on it. So this is forged steel. There ain't no mem going on in your Ishapore.
It's so hard to believe it was made in 1968. Granted, they had a long production run, but it's so cool to see all these features that normally would have been torn out by the bean counters long ago.
The Ishapore, the way what we found out was is the longest issued standard military bolt action rifle, either in military police service. The Indian Reserve Police still use it. During the Mumbai attacks, it was seen in 2006 and 2008 in the Reserve Police
around.
Forces, and it's still serving. It works.
Yeah.
It's paid for. It's awesome. And how did it shoot? Give me those butt pads, would you? We talked about how it kicks like a mule. It does. I recommend you to get one of these, like a limb saver.
I think you're hitting right.
And then we have a Packmeyer decelerator pad. And one thing I like being 6'3" is it increases the length of pull. We run these like on the Tanker M63 Mauser.
That is it.
This is like my favorite. And I don't have it on right now because I wanted you to see the steel butt pad. But that's awesome. Once you have that on, it's really enjoyable. I did find, once again, with this particular example, I don't know if it's indicative of the Ishapore as a whole, I have to slam that bolt home pretty hard.
Yeah.
That's a hit.
Yeah, and I got used to the stiff trigger, and I got used to it shooting high right.
That's the way you should shoot jump.
How did you like it versus a 1903, 2447, or K98?
Jack that hand, you're not racking it hard.
I'm not
Here,
racking
take over
it hard
for me.
enough.
I'll do it.
Like this. Really throw it. Get one down the muzzle as I hit. Tell me when you're like this way. No. From the back.
All right. Okay.
Focus in on that fore and now smoke the target. Tell me when you're there. You love it, don't you?
It's awesome.
You have to shoot one of those guns during the afternoon. Which would you choose?
All right. Fun-wise,
Yeah.
I would probably shoot this. The cost of ammo I like, and I like the funkiness of it, and the cock-on closing is kind of fun when you get into the
I would
groove.
still probably choose a 1903, which is still my favorite World War II. Even though it's rounds limited compared to this.
Yeah.
Show me that Mark
Although,
one.
not necessarily, because they have mag conversions for 1903s all over.
Yeah, I mean, you could change it. So
If
this
you
is a
were-
Pedersen device with the receiver cutout right here. Beautiful gun. And just like the 1903s that we've shot, they all shoot super high and they all need front sight modifications because they were zeroed at 5 billion yards apparently. Great gun. I love the 1903. It's still my favorite overall. It's just so smooth shooting, super accurate. I just love the bolt on the 1903. I like it even more than the Enfield. It just is so easy to work. It's just rounds limited. That's the only downside, I would say. Doesn't mean I don't love the Ishapore. I do. I think it's amazing. And so is this accuracy. Here's 100 yards. So this is in 2017 when we shot it from a Milsurp gun. And by the way, that's not a special load. That's Federal soft point, which is a very consistent load. There's a point of aim. This is actually, I think I did drift that front sight, or attempted to a little bit. It's still shooting high right. I still got to address that. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just deal with it. Rate of fire, you'll see video of me and TD running it. I don't think we're any experts with the Enfield for sure, Ishapore. But you could get up there, and like anything, you train with it, you get better. Accessories. I think it's kind of a hard gun to find parts for. I don't know if you noticed this when I showed you the butt pad. One of our screws fell out. It came that way, and so I just have a wood screw down here. It's like a drywall screw. Talked about the missing rear part. This screw came undone. You got to basically just watch all your screws on the Ishapore. Yeah. Everything probably ought to get Loctited. The front band, keep that tight like we said. What were you saying?
As a Milsurp, maybe that's a good thing. It's fun buying something and going through it with a fine-tooth comb, Loctiting it a little bit. Some guys might think that's a Saturday afternoon well spent.
Sure. I think the front cap looks sick still. We did notice that some dudes have done Aperture rear sight conversions, mounting it on the charging bridge back here. Collectability, that's your rifle, do what you want. I think the problem with that is now you're going to have to figure out if that rear sight's the right height. I didn't investigate to see if they have higher front sight blades for the Ishapore. I'm kind of thinking they don't. There's just not that big of a market for it. And how would you like to mill your own front sight for that?
No, I'm good.
No way. I mean, in those closed confines, you got to rock the dovetail. Forget about it. Don't know of any optics conversions. I'm sure there's probably someone out there that's done it. But for us, it's just a fun Milsurp rifle. Just a fun collectible. And like we said, it didn't cost that much.
A great entry-level Milsurp thing to get you in.
K98, once again, making an appearance. So smooth, so strong. Love the K98 over an Ishapore 6s, except in terms of caliber. I like the 7.6251 of the Ishapore and the rounds. Very cool. This is actually a smoother action, though. Actually a better trigger, too.
And a better investment.
And lighter weight, more compact, even this full-size K98.
Although the days of getting a K98 for, I would say a lot of people are done.
Yeah, but you could roll it in against a 2447, which is basically the same gun.
Yeah, pretty much any other Mauser you can get for a lot cheaper, but...
Absolutely.
The days of like $200 Russian cap 98s in every pawn shop across the nation
those are done. Oh my goodness. And I'm done. I need to go get some oxygen once again. So we're in the bunker. This is the Ishapore 2A1, your incomplete Nothing Fancy review. Probably some stuff we skipped over, but that is down and dirty. We love the gun. It's quirky, it's unusual, it's chambered in a common caliber, great rounds capacity, 10-round magazine.
It's awesome.
And you can charge it from the top if you want to. That's a bonus. Relatively smooth when you get used to it. Recommended. Signing off from the bunker. Come join us again for reviews of all kinds of cool stuff for the good guys. TD, Nothing Fancy. Bye-bye. That's a wrap.